All right, welcome back to Seller Sessions. I am really excited about today's podcast because in today's podcast, I am sharing my presentation, which I did in Seller Sessions, but I specifically made this presentation only for Seller Sessions Live, which was 2 weeks ago from when I was filming this. And I did only share specific things there. I've taken out about 5 slides, which is something I only shared there live. But the rest of it I am going to share here. And it's all about brand archetypes and how you can build transform your business through having a really clear brand personality. And we talk about brand archetypes. If you did watch me live in London, I only had about 30 minutes to talk, so I really, really rushed through it. This podcast, it's pre-recorded, and it's going to be about an hour long. I put my heart and soul into this recording, so I hope that you do listen to all of it, because once you get to the end, you understand the importance of having a brand personality and why, brand archetypes can help you to then build your brand personality. So without further ado, I'm going to get into my presentation. I hope you guys enjoy this. Let's get into it. From ordinary to extraordinary, how we can transform our business by having a unique brand personality. The whole point of the presentation is basically to understand why it is important to have a brand personality and how that sets the tone for then everything else within your brand. And the point is to emotionally connect with your buyers, and you're able to do that through the brand personality. So let's talk branding. Before we talk branding, we first of all need to understand the difference between a brand and branding. So a brand is a name, a design, a symbol, or any other feature that identifies one seller's goods from another seller's goods. Okay? That is what a brand is. And a lot of people would say, a logo is a brand. Okay, but branding is the intentional process of creating and managing how people perceive and experience a brand. It includes carefully shaping how people think, how they feel, and how they connect and remember their interactions with the brand. The goal is to establish a unique and memorable identity that connects deeply with the intended audience and leaves a lasting impact. So a brand, more or less, is a logo, but branding is how your entire brand experience, how the buyers emotionally connect, experience, perceive your brand. A brand is so much more than a logo. So on the screen right now, I have 5 logos. I have the Nike logo, the Disney logo, the Victoria's Secret, Harley Davidson, and GoPro. Now, if you're listening to this on the podcast, you're obviously not seeing this. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you are. But if you're listening to this on the podcast, then try and close your eyes and think about the logo, okay? Because we all know what the Nike, the Disney, the Victoria's Secret, the Harley Davidson, and the GoPro logos look like. And the whole point of me showing this is when we see that logo, imagine you're just walking down the street and you see that logo somewhere. Straight away, it embarks certain types of emotions or thoughts or whatever it may be through your head. Okay, so I've got on the screen currently, each of the different characteristics or emotions that when I see these logos, what they may spark inside of me. So for example, when I see the Nike logo, I think motivation, I think empowerment, I think inspiration. And if Nike, was a human, it would be someone like Michael Jordan, for example. Okay, when I see the Disney logo, I think, for example, imagination. I think, magic or magical. I think transformation. Just by seeing that logo, I can already feel those things or think those things, right? If I see Victoria's Secret logo, I straight away think sexy, sensual. But I also, for example, think skinny. which can also be, today Victoria's Secret has changed the way that they want people to perceive them. When you would think Victoria's Secret, you would definitely think of like supermodels like Giselle, for example. And they always only had and encouraged, that type of imaging. Whereas today, they are doing a rebrand, and you'll see a lot more women of all shapes and sizes. But for so many years, I don't know how many years, but let's just say probably over 30 or 40 years, maybe longer, maybe a little bit shorter, they for such a long time were pushing a certain type of image that in today's world, in 2023, they're trying to do a rebranding. It's going to take quite a while, for them to get out that word, for example, skinny, out of my brain, for example, right? So if you were to imagine the Harley Davidson logo, for example, I straight away think, disruptive, rebel, freedom, right? If Harley Davidson, let's just say, was a woman, not specifically a man, if it was a woman, I would imagine, for example, someone like Pink, the singer, right? And then GoPro, if you were to see that logo, for me, I start thinking adventure, excitement, extreme, etc. So the point is that we understand, yes, a brand, okay, technically, if you were to go into the dictionary and type in what is a brand, yes, it's a name, it's design, it's a symbol, more or less it's a logo, but branding is so much more than a logo. And like I said, it's about how it makes people perceive your brand, what types of feelings, okay, it embarks in them, etc. So something that we do in part of the different types of brand elements, okay, something that it's extremely, extremely important, okay, is brand personality. Now, I have been a part of brands and created my own brands for a long time. It was about 2.5 years ago that Sasha Gorelick, who is also my copywriter, that I've been working with for a long time, I actually had her on the Seller Sessions podcast as one of my guests, and she actually introduced me to brand personalities. And ever since then, I've done so much research in understanding the psychology behind it. Soon we're going to talk about brand archetypes, and that actually comes from a psychologist from a long time ago called Carl Jung. I'm not going to get too much into him because you can Google him. But anyway, I did so much in-depth research on this, and it's helped me so much when I'm building brands today, because I have my footprints in many different brands. It helps me so much today to come up with the entire brand strategy now that I understand brand personalities, and that's what I kind of am trying to then give to you guys. So what is a brand personality? Well, just like people have their own unique personalities built of characteristics and qualities, brands also have their own distinct personalities. It's how a brand talks, it's how it acts, it's how it connects with people. Some brands might be seen as fun and friendly and approachable, and others may be seen as super serious or professional, for example. A clear brand personality humanizes a brand and helps it to also stay consistent across all channels. The personality traits also help shape how people feel about the brand and whether they want to actually engage with it or not. Why is having a brand personality so important? Well, obviously it builds an emotional connection with buyers, and we make our buying decisions it's an emotional decision. We'll get into that soon. Premium pricing, buyers are often willing to pay more for brands they feel a strong connection with. Now, on an Amazon level, some people would argue this, okay? Again, it is all about branding. And a lot of the time, with the right type of branding, you can get away, even in super competitive niches, with a much higher price point. Obviously, it can also influence purchasing decisions. Buyers are often drawn to brands that they actually are aligned with their values. It's an essential part of building an overall brand strategy. Okay, when you have a brand strategy, your brand personality helps to then guide the development of the visual identity, the messaging, the marketing approaches, etc. Having a brand personality is important because it contributes to establishing a brand identity, making it easier for buyers to recognize and remember the brand. It helps to attract and retain buyers, even in competitive marketplaces. It helps to differentiate from competitors and establish a unique USP, and we're going to speak about that later in the slides. And it helps to obviously build trust and credibility with buyers. Not all purchases are driven by logic. Many buying decisions come from emotion. And this is something that a lot of people miss. A lot of people, especially in the Amazon world, are stuck in 2016 and 2015, etc. And they think that on an Amazon level specifically, purchases are made not by emotion, by logic, i.e. who has the most reviews or who is the cheapest. Now, obviously, it depends, or certain type of pricing. Obviously, it depends on what kind of market you've gotten into. I know that specifically a lot of people that also listen, for example, to the Seller Sessions podcast, on that end, a lot of people have been selling for a long time, or else, for example, on my YouTube channel, a lot of it is also newbies. So a lot of people who started when I did, which is in 2016, if you would keep your exact same strategies that you launched in 2016 and try to apply them today, I believe, and this is my opinion, more than 70% wouldn't be able to get away with it, because it's no longer the way that it used to be. The world, the Amazon world has changed, and in general, the world has changed, right? 10 years ago, and you know what, even 7 years ago, but we look at up to before COVID and up to before, let's just say the last 5, before social media was really a thing, let's just say up to 10 years ago, brands communicating, it was a one-way street. If you wanted to communicate with the audience or with the clients or with the customers or with the people who are the ideal buyers, right? You would communicate through magazines, through radio, through TV ads, through brochures, right? That is how you would communicate, through, newspaper ads, etc. It wasn't a two-way street. If a buyer wanted to say something about your brand, it wasn't as easy as going onto Google or going onto Amazon or whatever and just writing a review. It was a one-way street. It's a two-way street today. And that's why building that emotional connection is so important today, even on an Amazon level. So something that helps us to build a brand personality is what is called brand archetypes. And archetypes actually come from a really, really famous psychologist and author called Carl Jung. You can Google him. And he came up with the fact that there are 12 distinct personalities, and we're going to talk about them now. And they're made out of specific characteristics, and you have these specific characteristics, then you apply to one of these specific archetypes, and then over time people then took those archetypes and put them into branding, and now we call them brand archetypes. So brand archetypes are a set of 12 distinct personalities, each embodying a specific set of behaviors and characteristics. These personalities are brought to life through characters known as archetypes, and each archetype evokes a fundamental desire within us based on the traits that they exhibit. So I'm going to go through every single one of them. I'll very quickly go through them very quickly go through each one of them, and then I'm going to go in depth into them. So we have the outlaw, okay? The outlaw brands, or the outlaw archetype is basically a rebel, okay? For example, Harley Davidson. We have the magician, which the magician, it's all about transformation. You buy our products, you work with us, whatever it may be. You're going to start from A, but we're going to help you get to Z. Okay, so it's all about transformations. An example of a magician brand is Disney. Okay, think about Disney princesses compared to other princesses, right? Just as an example. The hero brands, where it's all about mastery. An example of a brand there is Nike. The sage brand, where it's all about knowledge. An example there would be Google. The explorer archetypes, which they're all about freedom. Okay, an example there could be, for example, North Face. The innocent brand, where they're all about safety, pureness, genuine. An example there would be Dove. The caregiver brands, which they're all about caring. And an example there would be Tom's, the shoe brand. The ruler brand, where it's all about control, basically, and status. An example there would be Rolex. The creator brand, which is all about innovation, which an example would be Canva. The everyman archetype, which is a brand where, it's kind of like the girl next door, an everyman type of brand, right? It's all about belonging. An example would be IKEA. The lover archetype, which is all about intimacy, love, can be also sensual. Okay, Victoria's Secret is an example there. The jester brands, one of my favorite brand archetypes, where it's all about enjoyment, funny, etc. An example there, for example, would be M&M's. Okay, and those are the 12 archetypes. Now we're going to get into them, in depth into them one by one. And then I'm going to give you examples of a mix of these types of archetypes on an Amazon level. And then we're going to talk about how we actually come up and how we can find our brand personality, how we can implement all of this. Brand archetypes. To help shape our brand's personality, we use archetypes as a powerful tool for establishing a distinct and relatable brand identity. By identifying and aligning with a specific archetype, we can infuse our brand with consistent values, traits, and behaviors that resonate with our target buyers, creating a compelling, emotionally connected, and memorable brand experience. Okay, we spoke about the 12 different archetypes. If you are watching this on YouTube, you can take a screenshot. I actually made this. This is my terrible Canva skills. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, I basically just made a little wheel of the 12 different archetypes. So let's talk firstly about the Outlaw brand. The Outlaw brand is a risk-taking type of brand archetype. It's a brand that is challenging, it's different, it's shocking, it's brave, it's bold. Brand voice would usually be unapologetic, fearless, roar, loud. This type of brand, their drive for change, for independence, for confidence, for risk-taking. Their brand messaging may be something along the lines of break the rules, challenge convention, embrace your rebellious spirit, or something like rules are made to be broken. The brand strategy for an outlaw brand would be to disrupt and shock, or to go against the grain. Some outlaw brand examples would obviously be Harley Davidson. They're a great example. Another example would be, for example, Kat Von D. Now, if you understand the cosmetics brand, the cosmetics niche, I should say, and the makeup niche, okay, they're usually a lot of makeup specific brands. Now that you, hopefully after this, you understand brand archetypes well, usually they're very innocent type of brand archetypes. And Kat Von D is exactly the opposite. So the founder of Kat Von D is actually a tattoo artist. If you were to go to the Kat Von D website, so K-A-T Von V-O-N and then D. If you were to go to their website, you look at their entire branding and their messaging. First of all the models almost always have a lot of piercings. They have, lots of tattoos. They use words like, we give a fuck when they're talking about how they care about, about animal cruelty and that, etc. That is their brand messaging compared to, I, for some reason, can't get a makeup brand in my mind right now, but to other makeup brands where a lot of the time it's the total opposite. They use very genuine and pure type of wording and colors, etc. Kat Von D is the total opposite. Now, they have done a rebrand and changed their logo, but if you're watching this on YouTube, then you can actually see what their old logo looks like. And if you're listening to this on the podcast and it interests you, just Google. A brand slogan example would be all for freedom, freedom for all, which is part of Harley Davidson's brand slogans. Other outlaw brands is Dude Wipes, and the reason that I'm bringing them up is because I'm actually going to speak about them later. Especially if you're in the Amazon world, you most probably know the brand Dude Wipes. They are a great example for a brand that their main differentiator is their branding beyond anything else. Other outlaw brands are things like Jack Daniels, Diesel, and Blackstone Labs in the supplements niche. Okay, we're moving on to the magician archetype. So the magician type of brand archetype, if your brand is a magician archetype or you strive to make it a magician archetype, it's usually the type of brands that are transformative. That would be like the best word to explain it. They're very impactful. They're very innovative. Brand voicing would be creative, magical, very often captivating, transformative. It would be a huge part of the brand voice. The brand drive would be for transformation, for enchantment, for vision, for discovery. Brand messaging could be something like, you only fail if you stop trying, or, for example, turning dreams into reality. A brand slogan, for example, would be for, Walt Disney, where dreams come true, right? That's a great example. And some magician brand archetypes would be, for example, Disney, Dyson, Good Hair Day, Easy Off Bam, etc. So the hero brand. The hero brand archetype, one of my favorite archetypes. They are a mastery type brands. Okay, you can't do better than using the word hero. They're like a superhero type brand. The brand voice is very determined, impactful, strong, brave, heroic. It's very focused. It's the type of brands that, they invoke discipline and confidence, and they're super, super kick-ass. That's usually what a hero brand is. They drive for growth, for discipline, for achievement, for mastery. Type of brand messaging could be, for example, never give up, or you can make anything happen if you just believe. The type of strategy would be become stronger and better, take action, overcome challenges. Examples of hero brands, for example, would be Nike, Adidas, Gillette, right? FedEx. FedEx slogan is the world on time, for example. Okay, a brand slogan, another example would be obviously Nike, just do it. Okay, these types of brand archetypes it's a great brand archetype to have. Usually it would also be mixed with another type of brand archetype as well. The jester brands are the type of brand archetypes that are very entertaining. They're like comedian brands, right? If you were to imagine the jester brand as a human, it would be someone like a comedian, for example, Robin Williams. So for example, a brand voice of a jester brand is usually optimistic, energetic, playful, humorous, fun. They drive for happiness, for laughter, for fun, for positivity. Brand messaging is, for example, a day without laughter is a day wasted, or don't forget to have fun. Strategy would obviously be to make them laugh. Good times, good vibes. An example of a brand slogan would be Dollar Shave Club's slogan. If you have not heard of Dollar Shave Club, I highly recommend you go to their website, dollarshaveclub.com, and look at their entire branding. Okay, their slogan is shave time, shave money, instead of obviously save time, save money, right? Examples of jester brands is, for example, Dollar Shave Club, M&M's, like M&M's, the chocolate, Benefit, the you know what, this is also a great example to show how there's true cosmetics brands, right? We talked about Benefit, and then we talked about Kat Von D, and then look at Benefit. Go into both of theirs websites, totally different branding message, right? So totally different buyers would also be attracted to those types of brands. The type of person who would, for example, buy specifically for Benefit isn't necessarily the type of person who would necessarily buy from Kat Von D, right? Another great example of a jester brand is also Dude Wipes. Now, when we spoke about the Outlaw brand, I used Dude Wipes as an example. But Dude Wipes is also a jester brand because they're also extremely funny. So even though they're extremely shocking and disturbing, they're also hilarious. And you can, if you're listening to this and you have not looked at Dude Wipes, they're a great brand to learn from when it comes to having an amazing branding experience, and obviously, brand personality. The Lover brand. The Lover brand, if it was a human, I would imagine, Marilyn Monroe. That's the type of brands. It's a very romantic, passionate, loving, heart-centered type of brand. A brand voice would be soothing. It could be spiritual, passionate, sensual, emotional. Brand drive is emotion, devotion, passion, and pleasure. Brand messaging could be, for example, I only have eyes for you, or love is fuel for your soul. Brand strategy is very much red carpet treatment. Lover brand examples would be Godiva Chocolate, Tiffany & Co. in the jewelry niche, Victoria's Secret, Magnum, the ice cream. Okay, a brand slogan, for example, Magnum, their brand slogan is for pleasure seekers. Okay, that would be examples of the lover type of brand archetypes. The everyman is basically the regular guy, the regular girl, the girl next door type of brands. If I was to imagine a human as an everyman brand, it would be, for example, Drew Barrymore. She's just like you and I, right? She just happens to be famous and really good actress, but she's very down to earth, very, very relatable, affordable, understanding, humble, of a type of words that I would describe the everyman type brand archetype. Brand voice would be simple, relatable, practical, approachable. These type of brand archetypes, they drive for relatability, acceptance, equality, connection, togetherness. The everyman brand messaging can be we're all the same, or all for one and one for all. An example of everyman brands is obviously Amazon Basics. Things like IKEA, Target, Kit Kat, right? Think about have a Kit Kat, take a break, have a Kit Kat. A brand slogan, for example, IKEA's brand slogan is the wonderful every day. They've even got, every day there in their name. So these types of everyman type brands are usually, like I said, the type of brand archetypes where they're extremely relatable and affordable. The caregiver type brands, brand archetype, are very nurturing. They're very dedicated. They're very caring. Okay. You could also call this type of archetype, it's like a parent. Okay. If I was to imagine the caregiver type brands as a human, I would think of someone like, for example, as Princess Diana, right? Who was very, caregiving. The brand voice would be very compassionate, nurturing, caring, warm. They drive for gratitude, for support, for safety, for protection. Their messaging, this type of brand archetype messaging is, for example, love your neighbor as yourself, or treat others the way that you want to be treated. The strategy is always others before self. Some caregiver brand examples are UNICEF, Tom's, Hug in a Box, Johnson & Johnson. A brand slogan example by Tom's Shoes would be, for example, one for one. If you don't know who Tom's Shoes are, basically you buy a shoe from them and they give a shoe. So it's called, their slogan is one for one. The ruler type of brand archetype, it's a brand archetype where it's all about status. They're the type of brand archetype where they're, very powerful, strong, royal, boss leader type brand archetypes. If I was to imagine the ruler brand as a human, it would be, for example, The Godfather. Brand voice is very commanding, successful, leading, powerful. They drive for success, wealth, status, power. Some brand messaging would be, for example, lead, dominate, succeed, or power isn't everything, it's the only thing. Strategy would be lead boldly, exhibit unmatched excellence. The ruler brand examples would be, for example, Rolex, Mercedes, BMW, Louis Vuitton. And a great example for a brand slogan that is the ruler type brand would be Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. That's their slogan, the best or nothing. Great example of everything I just explained. The creator type brands, which are one of my favorite brand archetypes, they're very artistic or inventor type brands. Original, they're expressive. They're not the type of brands that's just going to copy paste everyone else. I have an example here of Adele. Adele is definitely a creator type brand archetype. She writes all of her own materials and for others as well. Brand voice of creator type brands could be very visionary, expressive, inspiring, daring, creative. They drive for self-expression, creativity, originality, imagination. Strategies very encourage originality and creativity. Messaging, creativity takes courage, or don't copy but create. Creator brands are brands like Melissa and Doug, Apple, Crayola, Lego, Canva. Okay, if you think about Lego's brand slogan, just imagine. So it's driving for imagination. A brand slogan example also is Apple, think different, right? Almost done, a couple more, and then we can get into the nitty gritty stuff. The explorer type brand archetypes, they're brand archetypes that are often to do with travel or something to do with like the wild, camping, etc. They're very ambitious, curious, seeking, adventurous type brand archetypes. Brand voice is very resilient, ambitious, courageous, adventurous, fearless, daring. They drive for self-discovery, for the unknown, for adventure, for a challenge. Brand voice would be never stop exploring, or you only get one life. The strategy would be celebrate the journey. Explorer brand examples is GoPro, Patagonia, Jeep, The North Face. Brand slogan example would be never stop exploring by The North Face. Yeah. Okay. The innocent type of brands, you see a lot of them specifically also in beauty. They're very pure angel type brands, right? They're like Forrest Gump, genuine, trusting, simple. Brand voice is humble, genuine, open-hearted, nurturing, honest, fresh. They drive for positivity, simplicity, for happiness. The innocent brand messaging would be embrace the pure joy of simplicity, or don't worry, be happy. Strategy is do things right. This type of brand archetype examples would be Method, or Innocent, or Dove, or Burt's Bees. Brand slogan example would be Dove, let's change beauty. So a lot of the time, the innocent type brands, I can say from my experience in the beauty niche as well, they're also, their colors are also very like light greens, light blues, a lot of white with those colors together, etc. The Sage, and that should be the last one. So the Sage is basically the know-it-all type brand. They're wise, they're curious, they're investigative, they've got credibility. They're like a scholar, they're like a smart guy type brand archetype. Their brand voice is very often analytical, guiding, credible, academic, experienced, knowledgeable. They drive for the 3 I's: information, intelligence, and influence, and of course also wisdom. These types of brand messaging would be knowledge is power, or the more we know, the better off we will be. Examples of Sage type brands would be Google, Udemy, TED, National Geographic, Dr. Lin. Dr. Lin is a skin brand. I've tried to put examples of brands from different types of categories. Dr. Lin skincare is actually, Dr. Lin is Kim Kardashian's dermatologist, and I've worked with him on his products that he sells on Amazon, and also helped him to do sort of a rebranding with my graphics designer, or the brand that I work with called Pixel Nut Studio. And when we did sort of a rebrand, it was extremely, his entire branding strategy is extremely important for him to focus on information. So he doesn't care if his colors may look boring or, very, I don't really have another word apart from boring. His logo, if you're listening to this on the podcast, it's just Dr.Lin. Under that sits skincare. It's in a rectangle. The rectangle background is green, and then the writing is white. Very simple, okay? But the reason he's a Sage brand, maybe mixed with an innocent brand archetype, but the reason he's a Sage brand, because it's all about the research. He's a dermatologist that has a skincare brand. It's all about the research, and for you to understand why he puts certain types of materials in there. It's all, if you go to his website, you'll see it's all about information. A brand slogan example would be TED Talks, ideas worth spreading. That's a slogan for TED Talks. Okay, so we've gone through the 12 different archetypes. Now what? So how can having a clear brand archetype help you when you're selling on Amazon? Reminder before we continue, remember that the brand personality sets the tone for your entire content and marketing strategy. Having a brand personality will allow you to define your brand's character, the values, and the voice, which sets the tone for all your content, your marketing, and all communication with your buyers. It provides a consistent and authentic foundation for your brand messaging and helps to build emotional connections with your target audience. The reason I put the slide in here is because before we get into, well, how can we do this on Amazon? You need to remember that the minute you understand what your brand personality is, and we use archetypes for that, it then sets the tone for literally everything else in your brand, your marketing, the types of images you have, the type of models you use, the type of packaging you use, the type of font everything to do with the brand experience on a customer level. Your brand personality helps you to set the tone for that. So let's look at some examples. So let's look at Dude Wipes. Now, if you're listening to this on the podcast, I highly recommend that, you quickly go into Amazon, you look at Dude Wipes, and you actually understand what I'm talking about. Dude Wipes, I consider them to be a majority brand mixed archetype, because very often you'll have a mix of two archetypes. Very often, archetypes it's just like us. Okay, I'm not only a rebel or an outlaw type of archetype, I'm also a caregiver, but I'm also a creator, right? And within us as humans, we have a mix of those archetypes. We aren't just one thing. Very often we're two or three of them. Same thing with our brands, because the whole point of having a brand personality is to connect with your buyers. You want your buyers to be able to see themselves within your brand and your branding, right? So Dude Wipes, in my experience and the way that I experience them, they're an outlaw brand. They're very disruptive, shocking, and bold. But they're also a jester brand. They're very, very funny. They have a sense of humor. They're entertaining, and they're also very relatable. So Dude Wipes' bold and disruptive visuals straight away tell the personality of the outlaw. But humor is also inseparable from their identity. And when you mix the jester and the outlaw together, you also can be very appealing to the everyman. So their strong brand personality helps them to stand out on Amazon by appealing to customers' desires for rebellion, nonconformity, humor, and playfulness. This creates a unique and memorable brand personality that helps them to differentiate themselves from other personal hygiene brands. At the end of the day, for anyone who doesn't know what Dude Wipes is, they're basically a flushable. They started off as a flushable toilet paper type brand, so it's wipes, and they're a little bit bigger than other wipes out there, but their entire differentiation point at the end of the day, in my opinion, is their branding. At the end of the day, wipes are wipes. Yes, there is a bigger, great. If all that was, and everyone could have created bigger wipes, and it would just be a saturated niche. Their branding is what helped them to stand out. Now, obviously, if you also know Dude Wipes, they've also then been, I think it was on Shark Tank, and they're like a multi-million-dollar brand, right? They're probably in 8 or 9 figures possibly. So today, but they're not. I think they started possibly. I think it was like 2011. So anyway. So on the screen right now, I have screenshots from different places of Dude Wipes that I took from their different screenshots from their either their A+ content or their images from their listing. So for example, they have an image saying billions of butts wiped, right? Started from the bottom, now we're still here. Or they have another one that says flush 'em, dude. Right? And then it's showing an image of a man flushing the wipes. And then it has another image and it says extra large. And then they have their wipes compared to other guys, and it says other guys. And they've put a Twix on it, which at the end of the day kind of looks like poo, right? So that's like the outlaw type of side of it, where they're disruptive and they do things others won't. But it's also very funny. Let's suggest it together. And then it says extra large because small wipes are messy. And then on the left side there, it just shows a normal hand, and that's where they've got their bigger Dude Wipes wipe. And on the right side, they've got a hand that looks like it's got poo on it, right? And it's the smaller wipes with the Twix on it. So basically what they're telling you in this image is use our wipes and you're not going to have shit on your hands. Now, you can straight away see this, and the thing is that no one else within their niche used this type of branding. No one else was marketing themselves this way. And that's why I say to you, and that's why I made this presentation and decided to also share it on YouTube. And obviously there's some slides that I've taken out that I only shared if you saw this on Seller Sessions Live. But that's why I wanted to share this, because once you understand or you find the gap in the market for a specific type of brand archetype that no one else is doing, it sets the tone for your entire your entire branding and your brand strategy. For example, in their listing, it says billions of butts wiped, right? Etc. So I've currently got on the screen a screenshot of how they look and what their placement looks on Amazon compared to competitors, and how their branding has also helped them to stand out on the search page. And now I've got on the screen 4 different screenshots from their Amazon posts. One of them says we're bigger than the other guys, and on the left hand side it's their wipes. On the right hand side it's normal wipes. Obviously their wipes are bigger, almost twice as big as the other ones, and this time they've used donuts as an example, putting it on there. And then they've got another one and it says let it rip, and it's basically a guy sitting on the toilet and just with his obviously you can't see his private parts, but you can see his underwear and he's grabbing a wipe. Okay, even that in itself, that's still the outlaw / the jester. And then it says Dude Wipes, saving your underwear since 2012. Okay, so this is just a great example. I also had a video in here. For some reason it's not working, so we'll just keep going. So to conclude, Dude Wipes is a great example of how you can have a really clear brand personality and how that can help you to differentiate yourself on an Amazon level. The next example I'm going to use as a brand that has an amazing brand personality is Grace and Stella. Grace and Stella, in one of my niches, is a competitor of mine, and therefore I've been watching them since day one. Grace and Stella they're a beauty brand. They sell things like gold eye masks, foot masks, Dead Sea products, a whole bunch of products. They're basically a beauty brand. Their branding is very pure, so they're very much the innocent type of brand, but it's also very playful. So it's also a mix with the jester, but they're also very caring. Okay, they in a lot of their listings and their website, etc., they also talk about how they care about the world and how they care about animals and cruelty free, etc. So they're a great example of a mix of 3 archetypes where 2 are very, very dominant there, and then 1 is not as dominant but also exists. So Grace and Stella specifically did a rebrand. I don't know in exactly what year they did the rebrand. I think it was before 2020, possibly 2019. But today when you go to their products, you can see, if you go to the reviews, you can see screenshots of what their old packaging, for example, used to look like. So currently on the screen, what I have is on the left-hand side, I've got what they used to look like, for example, in 2018, compared to on the right side, which is what they look like today. So if you're watching this, great. If not, maybe try and find this. This is a great example to see how a brand first launched. I think they launched in 2015, Grace and Stella. I started selling in 2016. I'm pretty sure they started in 2015, and they started just as a normal private label type of product. They started with 1 product. I'm pretty sure it was a foot mask, right? And in a second, I'll show you guys what their first packaging looked like. It was just a private label type brand. And over time, they found their brand identity and created a brand personality, and that helps with consistency amongst their entire brand strategy, and also helps to emotionally connect with their buyers. So this is an example, if you were looking at this on the top left, of what their facial massager used to look like. So even though it has the exact same messaging, it says, I'm just what you need when you think your face is clean. It's the same thing on the right side. But on the left side, their logo used to be not really easy to identify. You couldn't look at it and straight away be like, oh yeah, that's Grace and Stella. Whereas today, they're Grace and Stella. It's just the words Grace and Stella compared to back then where it was in like this little circle. They used to be playful but bolder, whereas today they're soft yet bold, which is harder to explain, but they're still playful, but they're simplified. And they have a really, really clear brand personality. Where before their rebranding, it was a lot busier. Their logo wasn't clear, and they were very, very bold in a busy way. So if you're watching this on the screen, great. If not, honestly, find this part of the presentation, and you can see the evolution of Grace and Stella discovering their true brand identity, right? Because when you don't have, and you'll see it on the next slide, when you don't have a brand identity or a very clear brand identity, your brand can be all over the place. So this was their first product. This is how they launched. Okay, it's literally, their packaging was a piece of foil with a sticker on it and just said Grace and Stella, and it had some feet. Okay. Compared to this product, this is also this product. Okay, they then called it Dr. Pedicure, and they gave each one of their products has a funny quote or saying on it. Okay, but this product, which then turned into this product today, looks like this. Okay, so it's also interesting to see their evolution of their identity. So this was their first logo. They then changed their logo to this, and now their logo looks like this. Okay, and by the way, this product, which is their Dead Sea mask, used to look like this. It used to come in a jar, like a glass jar. Their packaging used to be half white, half green, and it said Meet Mud, your skin's best friend. Whereas today, it still says Meet Mud, your skin's best friend, but it's totally different. It's got a pink, simple packaging, still in your face. So that's why I say it's still bold and it's still playful, but it's still simple. And look, it's completely changed. But this is the evolution of them discovering their brand identity. Now I've got on the screen on the left side what their social media accounts used to look like, and on the right side what their social media accounts look like today. So on the left side is their Instagram, and if you look at the type of influencers that they used to work with, or the type of user-generated content that they used to work with, they used to work with women that had really, really heavy type of makeup on. Whereas today, once they've discovered their brand identity and they've decided that they're more going on the pure side, and that's why I highly believe that they're a simple and pure brand, meaning they're very much the innocent type brand. Look at how it's not messy. It's not all over the place. There's a very clear type of buyer avatar that they're trying to connect to. And it's the type of women who, their skin's important to them, but they're not, they don't put on heavy makeup, right? They're not going to have huge, green eyeshadow on, etc. They're a lot more pure looking. And yeah. So this is what they look like on an Amazon level. We can see them here and we can see them here. And these are screenshots from their Amazon store, from their listings, from their A+ content. And you can see very pure looking colors, very pure looking models. Okay, when you don't have a clear brand identity and you don't know who your brand really is, and you're not trying to connect to anyone specific, you're trying to connect to everyone, which can get really, really messy. There's no consistency, and also the type of models that you have in your images. Look at Grace and Stella's consistency today compared to before, right? These women, they all look like the type of buyer avatar that Grace and Stella is trying to go after, which is the simple, pure, genuine type of buyer avatar. Okay, look at the words that they're using. Okay, I'm just what you need when you think your face is clean. They have their mission, who they are, always ethical skincare. We make skincare simple and fun. They even have the word simple in their brand, in their words here, and also fun. Okay. And this is an example of their Amazon posts. You can see again, very simple, yet fun looking. Okay, so those was 2 examples of how, 2 well-known brands. I've been a part of so many brands, and obviously I have my own brands. On here, on YouTube and in the podcast, etc., I'm a lot more careful with what I put out on the internet. I can't show you guys brands that I've actually helped build. I wish I could. Maybe one day, some people will allow me to. But those are 2 examples that I used, basically. So by the way, Grace and Stella went through an exit, and aggregators bought their brand, and the aggregators watched my presentation in Stella Sessions. I didn't know that they were in there. Obviously, I probably would have used a different brand as an example. And they came up to me afterwards. This is the Grace and Stella's new owners of the brand, which is an aggregator. And they came up to me after, and they said to me because all of this is my opinion. This is my opinion and how I perceive the brands from what I've seen and how I connect with them and etc. So the 2 people that work at this aggregator's company, they said to me, we're the new owners of Grace and Stella. And even though we're going through a rebranding, they said to me, you hit the nail on the head. Exactly. This is exactly the type of brand identity that we're building ourselves. So, okay. On the screen now, I have what I consider to be the 6 different elements of branding. So we've got brand positioning, which is where you start, which is where you discover who your buyer avatar is, what type of competitors exist, so competitor research, and your differentiation strategy. That's where you start. Once you understand your brand positioning, you can then get into the brand persona elements, which is, what is your brand archetype? What type of brand personality do you have? What's your brand language? What's your tone of voice? From there, the 3rd element is your brand core, which is the purpose, the vision, the mission, the values. From there, we go into brand communication, which is your brand name, your tagline, your key messages, your storytelling framework. From there, your brand identity, which exists of the logo, the icons you use, the typography you use, graphics, color palette, the models you use, your image style, etc. And from there, the 6th element is the brand experience. So the buyer experience, buyer interaction, your social media channels, the content, the advertising, the customer service, the online marketplaces that you sell on, etc. So notice with these 6 different elements, the first one is brand positioning. Who's your buyer avatar? What's, competitor research, etc. From there, then you can move on to the brand persona, which is brand archetypes and your brand personality. So in order to understand what type of brand personality your brand has, you first need to understand, well, who are my buyers? What do they need to see? Okay, and do competitor research. And that's what we're going to talk about. So where do we start? We want to firstly align our brand personality with our target buyers. Since building a brand personality is all about building emotional connections with our buyers, we first need to know our buyers inside out. Now, if you've watched my channel and you've heard me on this podcast as well, you know that I am all about buyer avatars. Know your buyers, be where that they are, hang out there. So wherever your buyers are, that's where you want to hang out. Okay, it's beyond just Amazon. The goal is to create a human-like personality to establish a stronger emotional connection with our buyers. The more that we as humans relate to other people, the more likely we are to have a connection with them. The same thing applies to branding. Okay, so if I'm now starting, let's just say, a new camping brand, okay, I'm going to join heaps of different camping Facebook groups, okay, wherever my buyers hang out. So if that means that I'm, on social media, on TikTok, on Facebook, YouTube, I'm going to listen to campers creating YouTube videos. I'm going to see what people comment on those videos. I'm going to see the type of language they use. I'm going to see how they talk. I'm going to see what they're asking. Okay, obviously, I'm going to read the Amazon reviews. That's an obvious one. I'm going to go wherever my buyers are. I'm going to be there because I need to become one of them. Not literally, my brand needs to, though, become one of them, which means I need to know them inside out. What are their needs? What do they need? What do they need to hear? What type of images do they need to see to feel that type of connection and to want to click on me, etc. So we need to know our buyers inside out. Wherever they are, that's where you need to be. Okay? We want to align our brand personality with our target buyers. Your brand should be a representation of who your buyers are or who they aspire to be. On the left-hand side, I've got an image of a human and it says your brand. And on the right-hand side, I've got an image of your buyers. It's the same human. Your buyers should see themselves or who they aspire to be within your branding. What we're looking for is an emotional connection through the identity, the aspirations, the behaviors, the beliefs, the values, the lifestyle, etc. The next thing is competitor research. So once we understand our buyers, then we're going to get into the competitor research. We're looking to find a gap in the market. So you want to take a close look at what your competitors offer, how they position themselves, and how they communicate through their branding, identifying their strengths and weaknesses. Look for gaps where they're not meeting customers' needs or making emotional connection. Also keep an eye out for opportunities where a specific brand archetype is not being targeted effectively. Use these insights to set your brands apart and seize an untapped potential in the market. Basically, you need to know your competitors inside out. Okay, not just on Amazon, off Amazon too. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, what are they doing there? Okay, Google, Etsy, wherever you're, obviously also on Amazon, wherever your competitors are, you want to know exactly where they are so you can see their type of branding and marketing strategy, and you can understand, well, what's their brand positioning? Okay, if you're in a specific niche where everyone's brand personality, first of all, if it's on Amazon, they probably don't really have a brand personality, because back in the day, who even thought about branding? It was just private label. You buy a product, put your logo on it, and that's it. It wasn't about branding, right? So anyway, if you're looking into a specific type of niche, right, and that specific niche, if everyone has the type of brand personality where they are, let's just say, I don't know, the innocent type niche, innocent type brand personality, or they're specifically, everyone's more a hero type brand personality. Well, hey, if no one's doing the jester, go and make that type of brand where it connects through humor, right? What you're looking for is a gap. Now, a tip I'm going to give you, which has helped me to build multiple brands, look at brands also of complementary products to see what their brand positioning has worked in that niche that is similar to yours. So if you're looking to sell a camping product, let's just say, I don't know, a cooler, okay, and look at other products that, are a complementary product to that. What are the hero type of brands there? What's their brand personality? Oh, well, if it's worked in that niche that's a complementary to this niche, then maybe, I can do that in this niche as well, just as an example. Now on the screen, I've got the steps to building a kick-ass brand personality. Okay, so the first thing is start here. Understand your brand's personality. From there, you want to understand our buyer's personality, not our brand's personality. We want to understand our buyer's personality. What type of personality or traits do our buyers have? From there, we want to identify their core desires. What do they desire to be? What do they desire? From there, we want to identify characteristics that they're attracted to. Okay, so maybe they're attracted to freedom. Maybe they're attracted to humor, whatever. Understand our buyers' needs. What is it that they actually need? From there, now we understand our buyers. Then we need to understand our competitors. We want to do in-depth competitor research. Once we've done in-depth competitor research, then we're looking to find a gap with brand positioning. So this is what, this is who our buyers are. These are the types of brands. This is our competitors. What's missing? We're looking for that gap. And that is where we can find how we could position ourselves and differentiate ourselves. From there, you want to identify your personality's positioning. That helps you to then define your brand archetype mix. Like I said earlier, most of the time we're not just one archetype, we're often two or three. From there, we want to then build our personality, our brand personality and identity. And voila, you got a kick ass. And then from there, you want to kick serious branding ass. Okay, so brand personality, you got to remember it sets the tone for your creative and marketing strategies, such as your tone of voice, your color theme, your creative imagery, your copy, your content strategy, the models in your images, the types of products that you launch, the type of products you design, the types of influencers you work with, the type of UGC creators that you work with, your type of email marketing, the type of marketing and advertising you do. All of this, your brand personality will set the tone for this and will help you so much more when you strategize for this. Anyone who is watching this online and didn't take a screenshot of the 12 different archetypes, I highly recommend that you do. It will help you to then build your brand archetype. And that was it. I know it was long. If you're stuck till now, well done for listening to it all. Obviously, I help people to build their brand. So if you want to reach out to me, you can go to sharonevan.com and book a coaching call with me, or just find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Send me a message. I'd love to hear. Even if you already are selling and you've realized, well, I've never even thought about this. You suddenly look at your brand and you're like, holy shit, we're not doing anything special at all, or we're missing that. You need some help with that. I'm here. And that's it. And